Woo! Sunday morning. Way to start this week. It's Thanksgiving, or as I like to call it, ThanksLiving week. I came across this quote. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make heaven of hell and hell of heaven. John Milton from 1670 in Paradise Lost. And it reminded me of the story, the oldest scripture we have in what we call the Bible today, but the oldest Hebrew story we have is the story of Adam and Eve. And when they were tempted and ate from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they were cast out of Eden. Now, they didn't eat good or evil. They ate of the knowledge, the awareness. For me, that scripture, ancient scripture, written in about 900 BCE, before Common Era. So it's 3,000 years old, right? And someone understood that when we think something is good or something is bad, we're lost to paradise. That we're ejecting ourselves from that place of true happiness, true peace of mind, true knowing. And the scripture goes on to talk about how we experience pain and suffering, death, murder, all kinds of things that none of us want to face, but constantly do face, right? Because we're here on this plane, in this world, and participating on a daily basis for what we think it should be, or what would be paradise, what would be heaven on earth. So I wanted to talk to us today about what thanks is, right? And what we can do to build a true gratitude practice. Right? Thanks means an expression of generosity, an expression of gratitude for something, for anything in our lives. Right? Taking that moment to kindly and purposefully acknowledge someone or something. ThanksLiving is the practice of putting that into your life on a daily, weekly, monthly, hourly, sometimes minute-by-minute basis. To ThanksLive, to live gratefully all the time, is a practice that I know I have to go through, and it's a practice that I think serves us very well. There's a lot of research now that shows the benefits of positive emotions. And a lot of the new social science and in a lot of the study of the effect of positive emotions on the brain, on what it does to our neural systems, we learn that actually our positive emotions act as our spam filter. Right? It keeps all the stuff we don't want entering into our operating system. But when we don't keep that spam filter updated and current, it can allow all kinds of negativity and kinds of harm into our life. We are eating literally from the fruit of the knowledge of evil rather than keeping it. So what are positive emotions, you may ask? What does that mean? Well, Barbara Fredrickson, who is a researcher at the University of North Carolina, is the foremost expert on positivity, happiness, gratitude here in the United States. And she writes that joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, pride, I love this one, amusement, inspiration, awe, and love are positive emotions. And basically, all of them equal happiness. All of them equal happiness. When we're amused, we know we're happy. And that when we are expressing interest in something, that usually means we're awake, we're alive, we're happy. There used to be an old Unity children's song that goes, awake, alive, alert, and enthusiastic. And the kids would come up from Sunday service and singing, awake, alive, alert, enthusiastic. And it was so wonderful because that kind of presence, that kind of attention to life can actually shift you into the understanding, the litmus of happiness. And why? I can't state this enough. I'm not saying we should be happy and pretend like things aren't bad. There is pain in the world. All you need to do is open your phone, turn on the news, experience one of our family members, know that there's pain and suffering in the world. Putting on a ThanksLiving attitude isn't denying that those things exist, but it is understanding that the cause is not the effect in this case, right? See, it's more than just thinking that there's something wrong with the world. Happiness does not come from believing that things don't need to change. I'm not saying that it's all roses and unicorns and rainbows, but knowing that we and it can change is where the happiness comes from. The situation may stink. It may be horrible. It may be painful to you. It is no fun to watch a loved one pass away or suffer needlessly. But knowing that this is not forever, that this does not endure forever, allows us to find the joy in the situation. There's an old psalm that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And we should weep. We should have all of our emotions, but understand that they come to pass. And that if we can reset our default to positivity, to these positive emotions, that we're actually rewiring our brain to be more awake, alive, alert, and enthusiastic. When the researchers take a look at it, people who have a more positive mindset focus on creating happiness in their lives and in other people's lives are more creative. They're more able to problem solve. They're more successful in their work. And in fact, in sales, they have a 56% higher rate of sales, if you're in sales world, than the negative or even the neutral thinking people do. That by the very act of reprogramming your mind to think in positive ways, you shift the equation of how your mind works. That serotonin and dopamine are released into your brain, which lifts it to higher levels of functioning, higher levels of being able to operate. It helps you to take in new information, remember that information longer, and then be able to recall it quicker when you need it, just by resetting yourself to happiness. Resetting yourself to happiness. Now, all of that I knew I was going to say today. All of that I knew I was going to share with you again. And I've said it before, but I keep having to remind myself, right? Because life happens. Last night, we had an invitation to attend the Japan Society Gala at the Nikko Hotel. Friends bought a table and invited JD and I to attend. And we were like, okay, well, it's a work night for me, but let's go. There's a free meal at a nice hotel. We got all dressed up, right? What do we know about the Japan Society? Why am I going? And then Ben Yoimama got up and gave his keynote award. He received an award and he gave his keynote address. And he talked in a way that really touched me. You see, he runs a successful company in Japan. He's the chairman of the board now. But his father started it. And his father was born in a small rural village in Japan before World War II. And his whole view of the world was that of the Japan-centric society, and that everyone else in the world were inferior and sometimes evil, that Americans in particular were evil. When World War II happened, his father enlisted and became a soldier in the army, and his job was to take bombs in a little boat, pull up to the side of American ships and try and blow them up. That was his job, and he took great relish in it. But as the war wound down, his father was captured and taken prisoner as a POW. And for the first time, he actually met Americans. He was so indoctrinated, Ben told us, to the evils of Americans that he did not recognize the people who he had surrendered to because they cared for him and treated him with basic human kindness and dignity. And even as a prisoner of war, he experienced a life better than he did as a soldier in the Japanese army. And it, in that moment, in a POW camp, changed his mind and saw the possibility, the positivity, and the love in the Americans. After the war, he started a business and brought his son and his family into it. In the end, his son sent all of his children here to the United States to get their education. And now they are a multi-million-dollar-a-year corporation that makes tennis rackets and tennis shoes, and all the time keeping their production in this small rural village in Japan, but changing one thought, one perception to that of evil to good, shifted the lineage of his whole family, the trajectory of numerous lives. And that's what we can all do at any moment. We don't have to become prisoners of war, but we are prisoners of our thoughts, prisoners of the negativity that pervades the world, prisoners of the idea that we can't change, prisoners of the thought that, well, this is just the way I am. I was born this way. No, you weren't. You were born, and life happened. And we made choices each and every step along the way, which reflects our total disposition today. But we are not stuck here, folks, any more than you're stuck with your hair color. Any more than you're stuck. You still have some you can color, Alan, even if it's not on the top of your head. Or stuck with hair at all. We have choices in this life today of how to shift things we think are immutable. So why do we not think that we can change our basic level of happiness? It can happen. And I hear it all the time because I'm living it all the time. Yes, but what they're doing on the border is unconscionable. What they're doing to people of color in this country hurts my soul. What happens in this world crushes my spirit. And that's true. But it's not ThanksLiving. That Japanese soldier found something in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the hardship, to learn to live in gratitude, to live ThanksLiving. And it's going on today, too. This man is Scott Warren. He was arrested in January of 2018, I believe. But he was arrested for giving aid and assistance to people crossing the southern border in the desert, for giving them water and food so they wouldn't die. He was with a group called No More Deaths that leaves bottles of water out in the desert so that people don't die of dehydration as they're trying to get here to the United States. And he was arrested and put on trial for harboring illegal refugees. And he went to trial. And he told his story. And when he was exonerated last week, he said the government has failed in its attempt to criminalize basic human kindness. He just does what he can do and holds to the principle no matter what. In the midst of his pain, in the midst of his struggle to fight for basic human kindness, we all have an opportunity to lift ourselves up and to live ThanksLiving, to have gratitude for everything we have, the abundance of material wealth that we all sit in. And knowing that giving water, giving a kind word, giving a thought, giving positivity, encouragement to someone shifts the planet. Gratitude is not something that we just do this week. Being grateful isn't this nice little thing that we can do at the end of the day in our gratitude journal. It is something so phenomenally powerful and fundamental to our well-being that as we practice gratitude, we shift ourselves. We literally shift our brain chemistry. We make new neural pathways, and we change who we think we are. We change who we have developed the habit of being. We are looking into the quantum field and choosing a different electron pattern right in that moment when we choose gratitude, when we live thankfully. So, how do we do that? On a daily basis, right? It's great to say it, but there's some really interesting, simple, day-to-day steps that can shift your whole life. You want them? You want little, tiny, itty-bitty steps that can alter the trajectory of your life? First is find. Find something to look forward to. Plan a vacation. You don't even have to take it. Plan the vacation, right? Find the air tickets, find where you want to go, decide which hotel you're going to stay in, look at the food, look at the country, the city, the state, and imagine yourself in it. That's why we make vision boards, folks. Find something in every day, every week, every year to look forward to. What are you looking forward to right now? Write it down. What are you looking forward to this week? Write it down. Spend time in that moment. Live in anticipation. We should have sung that, right? Commit. Commit to conscious acts of kindness. A kind word, a loving hug, a grateful buy the person behind you a cup of coffee, right? Pay it forward, but consciously commit to coming and serving homeless people, joining Urban Angels, giving to the vision program for Unity Vision for India, changing the lives of people you may never meet. Conscious acts of kindness. Infuse. Now, here I have to admit that my jaded New Yorker comes out. But literally in the research it shows that people who cover their desktop monitors and cover their desk with happy smiley faces and pictures of their dogs and loved ones and kids and family and pets are happier and lead more successful lives because they've infused their surroundings, their whole life, with reminders of what they're doing and why they're doing it. So put the picture of your family and your pets on your computer monitor. Stick them all around your office. Find things that make you happy and infuse them into your everyday life. And when I get over myself and remember that this is actually good, I can remember the truth, what I talked to you about a couple weeks ago, about coherence. That if we're feeling one way and thinking another, we can't create what we want in the world. That when we can align ourselves with a vibration of happiness and joy, that we are more likely to successfully affirm and watch it appear in our lives. That we are going to be better co-creators. So what is it that you need to infuse in your daily life, in your routine, on your phone, on your computer laptop, that when it came up would make you smile, would make your heart sing? The next one is spend. Spend money. But not on things. Have things ever really made you happy? Can you think of the thing you had to have, and sits in the back of your closet? Or it lasted for a day, and then the novelty was worn off? But what they suggest is actually that you spend on experiences, that you spend to bring someone into your life, to bring a family together, a group together, to throw a party, to spend on something that creates an experience that you'll never forget. That's what to invest your money in. It can be simple as the cup of coffee, the donut, the Krispy Kreme with friends, right? Those kind of experiences linger and shift our very being. And this is my favorite one. As I watch our prayer chaplains holding this space, meditate. There is research that shows that people who meditate regularly have a larger left prefrontal cortex. And the left prefrontal cortex regulates happiness. Happiness. So if you want to change your baseline and amp up your level of happiness in life, you need to meditate regularly. And trust me, I hear you when I say, I just don't have time in my day to meditate. And I'll say to you what I say to myself and what every spiritual teacher I've ever had has told me, you don't have time to not do it. The busier you get, the more you need to meditate. For it shifts everything. It shifts the way you see the world, and then you're able to more quickly and efficiently change the world. So let's take all this to our time of meditation.